This Noah's Ark 2x2 formation. Road change, now we go racing for the first time this season. 3 hours of GT action, it's go.
This is very tight as they come down. Group of cars coming in. This has all got trouble written all over it. This is G3 cars.
Drop downhill, they head towards the Aqua Minerale. Imola, of course. There's another one off through the gravel. Are as wide as possible as they drop downhill, putting that truck inside line. Yes, oh, he did. Through he goes.
Good evening and welcome to AOR's GT3 Tier 1 Race 5 of Season 13. We are at a very soggy Brands Hatch for the 5th round of this championship. Qualifying has already begun, so we'll quickly jump straight into it as I give you a bit of a lowdown of what happened last week, just so we don't miss out on any interesting information. I'll just forward us straight over to the race session. We're on board at the moment with Aidan Walsingham, who's currently warming up as much as he can, at least. His tyres to have a shot at pole this afternoon. Quickly then, so we don't miss any of the bits going on in front of us, I'll go through what happened, where we are, and what is up for debate before the championship is drawn to a conclusion. Well, points-wise then, Luke Whitehead is in the lead currently, and has been for a while. 332 points for him. Second place, Valentine Barrier, still holding on and keeping his championship hopes alive, even if it is somewhat of a glimmer. 290 points for him. Jonathan Riley in third place, following on from his 2 wins last time out in Spa and the time before that at Laguna Seca. 10th place, I think, was at Donington. Didn't take part in Spain. He is third place, and he's up 2 places from last week. So Jonathan Riley continues his championship campaign in the Ferrari. Jardier then, P4, he is down 1 place with 202 points. Oscar Houle, or O'Houle as we call him, 198 points. He is in 5th place. Then the man we're watching at the moment, Aidan Walsingham, hoping to go better today. 194 points and 6th place. Black Gold Saw, the old veteran, the old-timer we like to see from the Netherlands. He is 160 points strong in P7. Then we've got Leonardo Porrico in P8 with 145 points. Eric Delfante in 137. He's joint 9th place with Vanko Dimitrov, but technically he's only in 10th, both 137 points. And then it goes on and on and on. From there on in, Gert Fischer, Arnold, Mikowski, Ciata, Matteo De Campo, Fang, Foch lead out the top 15. Right, qualifying then. These boys have found their way around this track without incident. We're on board Walsingham. I think he's coming across the line to set the par. It is a 130.22. They will go faster than that. Luke Whitehead currently jumps up to second place, joining him on the front row provisionally. Gert Fischer in third. Mellis, first time we've seen him, he'll be in 4th place. O'Hall in 6th. We've got another one here. There you go. Riley sets his blistering pace. Jardier overtakes him with a 129.9. Even better. We've got Mikowski on the board in 11th. He's been pushed down by Valentine Barrier, who goes 3rd place. George Boothby back with a vengeance in 4th with a fantastic time then. Porrico, Ciata, Fang, all putting in good times there. 7th, 8th and 9th accordingly. Black Gold Saw goes 14th. A good second and a half back from everyone else. Well, what a flurry of times we just had come in. We will be joined by Tim a little later. But he's not quite with us just yet. He's running a little late, so he says he might miss qualifying, but do think of him. Sing a little song for Tim. But he will be here, I promise. A little later on. He'll be here for the race. So you've just got the southern tones of me at the moment as we guide ourselves around this quite small track, really. If you want to keep an eye on the track, you can do here. I have pinned it to the top of the chat. It is pitwall.live/timing/AOR server 1. And you can see the video as well as live timing and a little map picture there that's it actually works in real time. So you can see where everyone is on track. Great for the race, really good for the crossover of the tyre situation that we'll get halfway through. So, refueling not allowed, tyre changes are. Obviously we've got the wet weather tyre at the moment, so I would have thought we got wet qualifying now. I think we'll go forward a day, it all depends what they're doing on the server side. Chances are it's going to be wet in the race, but we will see. I can't remember what the likelihood of a wet race was. Any of the coordinators in the chat, please do let us know what that dealio is. We're on board at the moment with Luke Whitehead, currently leading the championship in the LW21 car. 300 points strong, this man. Almost an unsurmountable amount of points. I think if he gets the win here, he'll be very hard to catch with only 2 more races to go here. 3/10 up then on his time. Only needs half a tenth to go pole, provisionally. Papin gets a lovely second place spot there. Dimitrov in third. Good stuff from him. Papin with a 1:29.6. Dimitrov with a 1:29.7. Riley had a 1:29.7. Jardier's time was pretty good, but he's gone down even further now. Sorry, Jardier's in pole with a 1:29.5. Jardier currently leading the pack, excuse me. What was I thinking of? I think it was Valentin Barrier. He is down on his time at the moment. 4/10 strong. This man, currently the Ripper, is certainly doing that. Wet weather? No. Rounding the last corner then. So we go down the Brabham straight towards the line. He's got 6/10 to hand. This will be pole. Provisionally, it's the benchmark, sorry. It's only a tenth faster than what Jardier put down, but it will do for another one. Jardier's 3/10 up on his time. He will improve here. Across the line then, Riley takes pole. Jardier snatches it from him, drops him down a tenth or two. Luke Whitehead's improvement then dissipating straight away as he goes to the pits. Mikowski in fourth, Porico in fifth. Boothby in fourth place now, pushing down Mikowski. It's all coming in hot and heavy. Jardier, though, leading the pack. He must have had some time in the car today to get himself in that kind of position. So with Jardier from Riley, front row. Whitehead, Dimitrov, back, second row. Boothby and Mikowski, third. Simoninski comes in then with a 7th. He'll be joined on the 4th row by Porico. Gladkey and Papin there in the 5th row. And we're on board with Grantis Karakas at the moment. He did have a 10th in hand, but he's just dropped back slightly. Porico is improving just behind. But we'll stay with Grantis for now. As we go from Sheen Curve towards Stirling's. Fantastic commitment from these boys in these conditions. Don't run out too wide because it will suck you in. Lovely apex here. Keep it in third, probably fourth to be fair. Into Clark Curve, lovely stuff from Grantis. Different car from last season. Part of the Veloce boys in the Porsche, but now giving it a go in the McLaren. 919 across, and he can only get best for 11th place. A little bit more for Karakas to do, I think. But we will wait with bated breath then. We were listening to what Porico could do. He does improve. 5th place for him, at least at the time. Don't think there was an improvement of his place, but there we go. Right, we're in a weird state here where everyone's kind of running around and improving time by time. And you really want to be the last one across the line. We're on board with Conrad Siata. Nasty time out last. Let's see where he finished. Can't remember off the top of my head. Spa for Siata. Let's see. Don't think it was as good as where he's been the past couple of races. Whereabouts is he? Oh, blimey, he's not had a good time, has he? Where are you, Siata? Polish driver.
Good evening, Rage.
Hey, he's here. How you doing?
Do apologise for my slight running lateness. Siata finished 24th last time round.
He did, yes. Let's see about his standings. Whereabouts is he? He's 14th place. Best was a 3rd. Oh, he's currently matching that with a 3rd at the moment, at least provisionally. How have you been, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad. Running a little bit late today, obviously. So I do apologise to everyone at home for suddenly butting in the middle of qualification. But apart from that, all good. The voice is kind of still there. You appear to sound just as glorious as normal. So happy days there as well. The Rona has finally given you your voice back.
Yep.
So happy to hear. Has there been any discussion to the long-awaited
but yes,
race report that came in from last time? It was the final corner of the final lap of Spa, wasn't it? Like 90 minutes of racing, and then it was all hands on deck. I saw nothing but discussions about it in the Discord, but I think the stewards made us wait for that one, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you now, there is no further action for the incident on the final corner of the final chicane, that we had of the final lap of last time out. However, we do have 2 qualifying bans, and you've noticed actually they're not here yet, or at all. Jeffrey Miguel Renault Ritchie, he signed out from the race, and Daniel Serrigan also signed out of the race, both with quali bans, so would have had to start from the back of the pack, but I don't think they'll be with us at all this afternoon. So, yeah, we move on.
Yeah.
Those boys will join us next time out. Is Netterton? Question mark?
It is Snetterton.
I think it is.
I think it's a dry Snetterton next time round, apparently.
Okay, and then we're off to Imola for the final round. Hopefully for a shootout between these boys who have been pinging back and forward with points. Whether Riley has got enough in the bag to be able to put the frights on Luke Whitehead. He's currently sitting 6th place. Riley currently in pole position provisionally. Jardier is bouncing around in that 10th area, I think. He's going down towards Sheen, I think, roughly. Yes, he is, yeah. Towards Sterling. So he's in that middle sector where it gets very tricky. A lot of commitment needed through the right-handers. We go on board with Jardier in his little community team car with his little face on the side. Looks fantastic, doesn't it? Even in the rain, it looks good. Commitment through the left-hander, fantastic. Just a lift and a downshift. Back on the throttle hard as he goes down towards Clark Curve. Another double downshift then, early on the throttle, but slowly, delicately. These wet conditions proving tough for these boys this afternoon. I've not seen any offs yet, at least, but we have seen improvements left, right and centre. Jardier will go provisional pole with a 128.9. We've graced the 128s now. We're fully in them. I don't think anyone can improve, and they do. Vanko Dimitrov, is it going to be the first time we see him on the top step in Season 13? The 44 coming across in 128.937. I don't think we've got anyone else who is possibly be able to beat him at the moment. Jonathan Riley comes across the line. No improvement from him. 3rd place, he will stay. He'll get another shot at it then. Barrier doesn't improve. I don't think Luke Whitehead did either, who's now on another lap, waiting to go round again. They'll get 2 more, such as the layout here. It's so quick and frantic. They can get round and get so many laps done, can't they? You make a mistake on one, just go for another.
Yeah, so actually I think that was 0.4 up on Dimitrov's previous best laps. A massive improvement. I think the only driver I can really see making improvements at the moment is Gratis Caracas, running in 10th, 0.1 up on their lap time.
Yep.
But he is in well, he's at the opposite end of the track. He's about halfway round at the moment. Plenty of time to make mistakes, as much as I hate to say it.
Oh, cutting the curb there for Luke Whitehead. Not sure if he's actually invalidated that. It was such a cut. Almost had 4 wheels off the course on the inside curve. I see there someone asked very nicely in French, bonjour, possible to join the server un spectateur? No, you can't join as a spectator, I'm afraid. It is only available to watch here on Apex Online Racing, but feel free to sit down, get your Google Translate out as you listen to our British tones as we guide you around this lap. Luke Whitehead then coming across the line. He's a 10th down, Tim. He's going to have to go for a fast one now then as he goes through the Paddock Hill bend down towards Druids. It's one of the best sections in British racing, isn't it?
It is amazing, and I would recommend anyone that gets the opportunity to go and see Brands Hatch in the flesh to go and do it. It doesn't matter what racing you end up going to watch. Just gives you an idea of just how terrifying Paddock Hill Bend and Pilgrim's Rise is. It is unbelievably steep. When people say it's like going off a cliff, it really is quite spectacular. But even if you're playing it in-game, it doesn't quite give you the same sort of feeling of vertigo as you look over the apex and look down the hill. It is absolutely amazing. So yeah, definitely worth a look. Oh, Valentine Barrier was 0.2 up on his lap time just a second ago.
Whereabouts is he at the moment? He's 4th place. He's now 0.1, so he's 0.1 and some change. If he keeps that change high, he's dipping between 1 and 2. We could see a change for the pole position here. Luke Whitehead is on the bubble, really, for a change, but nothing set in stone this qualifying session. If they get across the line now, they will be able to have another go. It all depends on how much they've got in the tank. But Valentin Barrier looking hot for pole position, Tim. You're right.
Yeah, and running second place in the championship at the moment with 290 points, just following behind Luke Whitehead with 332. This is the kind of thing he wants. Wet conditions can be very hard to make it through the pack. Oh, Jonathan Riley also improvements, and Whitehead as well. This is going to be the thing of qualifying is going to be crucial this evening in this wet weather.
I just noticed Valentin Barrier and the man we're watching now on board with both have the same time at the moment, 129.127 as Barrier comes across the line. It's not enough for pole. He'll go second row. I don't know if he'll have enough in hand to have another go at it. It looks like he is. We'll stay with him, see if he can improve. No, I think he's given up. Jonathan Riley doesn't improve either. Looks like Barrier jumps him by one position, so that is now set at least, and Barrier has pitted. No more for him then. Jonathan Riley has another shot at pole position. Luke Whitehead also having another go at it. There are cars parked and going back into the pit. That was Grantis Caracas you saw there on the exit of, I think, Surtees. But he is not going to get any more in. Black Goldsaw calls it a day. Cruz as well. Papin, Nuer, Foch, and I think Lester Campo. No, he's still out on track at the moment. So who have we got to improve then? We've got Dimitrov, I don't think is going faster at the moment. Jardier possibly could. Luke Whitehead, no extra time on the sheet here. He's got to find some tenths in this final sector. Where can you find them, Tim?
Oh, God, I mean, it's going to be a case of Westfield, Dingledale, and then obviously Dingledale corner. Oh, big slide off the Whitehead. No improvements for him. That's it. The time is to 0. So that was his last chance of improving, and no improvement there. So I'm just,
he pushed it there to try and find that extra bit of time, didn't he? That's one of the areas you can, but I think he just pushed it that little bit too hard.
Oh, Jardier 0.1 up on his lap. Still quite early on in the lap, to be fair. Oh, no, it's actually coming into the latter half of the track. So
he's got some traffic ahead, but he should be okay. He is now 2 tenths up. We could see a final charge for pole position from Jardier here. He's only got 30 hundredths to beat, so he can still keep it at that 10th bubble and take pole here today. I don't think we're going to see any other improvements inside that top 10. We've got Jonathan Riley though. Oh, he's down massively. He's given up. So Jardier then, race for the line. He's going to get pole here today, and he does. Snatches it from Banko Dimitrov. And the poor, I don't want to say Russian, but he might be, at least with that name. His heart has been absolutely shattered today. But a fantastic drive from everyone around there.
That was a fairly strong effort from... Oh, he's Bulgarian.
Is he Bulgarian? Apologies. I take that straight back, Dimitrov.
To be fair, there's a nice little screen that we can use that's got the flags next to it, and I am ashamed to say that I was looking at the flag, and I was thinking, I'm not sure I know that one off the top of my head. So I had a little look into it to see what was going on there. God, what a qualifying that ended up being. That was absolutely last-minute stuff there from Jardier, and I imagine there's hundreds of thousands of people at home at the moment, or maybe not hundreds of thousands, lots of people at home, absolutely going crazy while watching his stream as well. Absolutely ridiculous.
There's at least tens of thousands, I think, at least once all the VODs have been looked at, viewed, and played. So yeah, they'll be going very, very crazy. All from afar, as he is one of the biggest names that we have here in AOR. Well, we will go through that pack in a second. The stewards are sharpening their pencils. Indeed. It was such a good qualifying session. I haven't looked at chat for a long time. Gas, I'm not going to say the whole thing because I'm not going to get it wrong. Said cars like McLaren and Nissan should be mega here. Yep. Linus says the top 20 all in within 6 tenths. I mean, that is mad. You're right. Absolutely crazy, seeing as that it went all the way that far back. Guys, if you want to, you can watch the Pitwall live timing. It's pinned to the top of the chat if you fancy watching people go round and you can track them as they go, is what I mean. So you can really get a kind of feel on where everyone is. Strategy is always good to watch one from there as well, so feel free to jump on pitwall.live/timing/AOR server 1 and you'll be able to watch that. Place your bets. The Paddock Hill Bend will be clean. I'm going to bet no. Absolutely not, Tim.
You never know, to be fair. They did pretty well last week at Spa, to be fair, through turns 1 and 2. So fingers crossed for everyone. You never know. I mean, yes, Paddock Hill Bend is one of those race corners, but even in the dry, just due to the fact that the cars concertina as they come into the braking zones, the amount of times you see someone go flying off to the left-hand side and going wide into the gravel. The only upside here is there's lots and lots of runoff on that left-hand gravel trap, so plenty of space to actually end up, aborting the corner and going flying off into the gravel. It might not be the fastest line, but sometimes just avoiding other people is the most important bit. There's less damage to your car.
It's true. Well, we've got a couple of minutes quickly to go through the grid, and I'll do it as quick and as cleanly as I can. We've got Jardier in pole position, I think for the first time this season, if I'm not wrong. At least, yeah, first time this season. I don't think we've seen him up there. He'll be joined on the front row by Vanko Dimitrov. He's obviously literally just jumped off a cliff because he almost got his maiden pole position. Second row will be Valentin Barrier. Brilliant position for him considering the championship. He'll be joined by Jonathan Riley, the Charger, the young Charger Jonathan Riley. He'll be joining him on the second row. Luke Whitehead then is going to be very, very pleased to at least get as far up as he can. Oscar O'Hall, as we like to call him, will be joining him on the third row of the grid. Fourth row of the grid will be George Boothby and Grantis Caracas. That's a team to be careful of. Black Gold Saw, the old statesman, will be joined by Felix Hacker. That will be a fantastic start to watch. We'll watch that with bated breath. He's in the Porsche today and in the fifth row. So Conrad Ciata and Aidan Walsingham, sixth row. Seventh row will be Jay Fang and Campanella. Eighth row will be Alan Drake Cruz and Makowski. Ninth row, Hladkey and Porico. 10th row would be Papin and Newworth. 11th row would be Samir Foch and Mattia De Campo. Hubert Simonensky and Gert Fischer in the 12th. 13th is Alessio Mellis and Statchiki. And then we've got RageF at the very back there. We've only got 27 drivers here today, but this is a track that you can only just fit 27 in anyway. So I think we'll have drama from the get-go. Tim, over to you.
Yeah, definitely going to be drama straight away as we are just about to start our formation lap. This is going to be a case of desperately trying to get some temperature into those tyres. It's wet. I think pretty sure we're set for a complete wet race. I mean, for the next 30 minutes at least, we are definitely going to see some wet. Going to be interesting to see what people do with tyres here. Obviously, no fueling allowed this time round as per normal rules, but one mandatory pit stop and a mandatory tyre change. Being wet, the tyres tend to last a little bit longer. I don't think we're going to see it drying up. I don't think we're going to see any real change in temperature. There's barely any wind out there on the circuit. In fact, there's none. So 20 degrees, 25 degrees track temp. I don't think we're going to see it move away from wet. It's really going to be a case of who can sort of get comfortable with the setup quickly. I mean, we've seen it a few times. Whitehead has some issues, does a few more laps than everyone else to really get his out laps up and running. So who do you think is going to be the one to switch the tyres on first? As everyone inside the top, well, just apart from everyone in the top 9 is in a mid-engined car, so there's not going to be the sort of rear-wheel drive front engine sort of battles that we normally see.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a real surprise here. I don't want to take anything away from Jardier. I think he'll do good where he is. Dimitrov is the odd one out here in the Lamborghini so high up, so we'll keep an eye on what Vanko does. That will be very interesting to see. Air on the side of caution with Riley. Wet conditions in the car. Not too sure really what will happen. To be fair, it's an unmeasured quantity, unfortunately. Luke Whitehead says he suffers in the Audi in the wet condition. We're hot here, so the warm-up should be good. But what's the dead going to be like later? If it was my bet, I would go for someone like George Boothby to come alive here. He's again well seasoned in AOR. He's definitely fought Luke Whitehead for a championship. He's getting used to that car, but I think he's got a little bit more confidence at least than the likes of Riley in the same car up there. So I think it will be very interesting to see. But if my money was on someone, it would be Dimitrov and Boothby, who are second and seventh.
Yeah, to be fair, Boothby a really good shout for someone to be improving and moving up through. He's in 7th place. I think it's the first time we've seen him this season in Tier 1, actually. Someone who I think is going to end up inside the top 10 is Makowski. He is a bit of an old hand when it comes to Tier 1. We've seen him race in all kinds of different conditions, and if anyone can get their tyres in the right operating window, it is Makowski, currently running in 16th. But I reckon we'll see him inside the top 10 by the end of this race.
Yeah. I think it's all going to change. We never know what's going to happen with incidents as well. So, yeah, anything can happen, usually does. We'll keep an eye on the race, I'm sure. Let's go then into a a good camera to get the start. I'm not too sure where to start, really. I want to go back as far as Luke Whitehead, because I think we might see some interesting stuff going down into turn 1 as the cars get ready. They all back themselves up. Jardier ready to go. He's looking for that green light. He's got it now. Instantly off the line then. Jolts slightly to the right to cover off Dimitrov, who does a fantastic job of it. Let's see what's happening from a little bit further back as they all get a little bit out of shape going through the first corner as we come down towards Druids. And I think we still have Jardier in the lead, and he has held off Dimitrov going out wide there, as you can see in the front of the camera. Have we got any drama going on behind, Tim?
788 has gone off. I will have a look back and see what happened there, but that was turn 2. Everyone made it actually through turn 1 absolutely clean.
Let's see if I can grab Hladky. He's falling back. I can't find him. I can't get him.
That's always the way. They dip back through the timing screens quicker than you can click on them. Still made a move though. He's out, up and running. That's the main thing. Not obviously a big enough incident to actually completely quit the race. Still there. I think the big loser on lap 1 so far has been Dimitrov, and the battle for 4th place is really heating up. Luke Whitehead now getting onto the back of that as well. Yes,
it was Neuwirth and Hladky getting crossed up into Druids, so both of them get put back down to the back there, and there's a lot of damage on the front of that car. Yeah.
Quick one, Luke has been shoved off the track. Luke had a little bit of sideways action with Hull, and Hull now losing positions as well. Those two going off, so the Audi has been bumped off the circuit, and I believe that was in Hawthorne Bend.
Okay, well, we're on board with him at the moment. It's going to tick forward slightly. I'll see if we can jump back and see what happened there. I don't want to miss too much, though. We'll go on board with Luke Whitehead. He goes to the outside then, gets a slight tip, I think, and it'll push him out wide behind Jonathan Riley. So, yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, O'Hall, he almost went round the outside, but, yeah, gets shown the dirt, and he loses 2-3 places. I think he gets put behind Hacker there, and Hacker jumps straight back in front, and, yeah, down to 9th place then for Luke Whitehead. Not the start he was after. Valentin Barrier has got ahead of Vanko Dimitrov. It looks like Riley in 4th place there. Let's jump on board then live with Valentin Barrier, who is in 2nd place with the very PewDiePie-esque looking McLaren. Fastest lap apparently was P17. I don't really believe much of that, to be fair. Surely it's the man leading, right? Question mark.
Technically, you're crossing the line faster if you start further back in the grid. You've had more time at full throttle.
It's a running start, isn't it?
It is the rolling start. It kind of works weirdly. 3 drivers into the pits already. Black Goldsaw, yep. Makakowski, and Fisher. So really, really strong there.
I'm not surprised.
Going for the immediate... No, I think they're probably going for the option of get out of the traffic, then they can hot lap and go together. The worst thing they can now do, though, is trip themselves up while they're all leaving the pit together, as... Goldsaw and Makowski right next to each other at the moment. So, but again, old hands, they know what they're doing. They know not to trip each other up. They know to work together and just keep pushing forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you've got to do in this stage. They've both got the same car. They really need to just drag themselves along. It'll be very silly to get caught up in some kind of battle now. But we've seen this work very well in the past. We've seen this first lap pit come to a real good result at the end here. You get yourself into some clean air and you can really get some pace down and concentrate on your laps, and it can actually really prove beneficial to do this. I think we had Dara McCormack at Donington 2 seasons ago go from the midfield into 3rd position. So yeah, one to keep our eyes on later on, I think. Luke Whitehead has also decided to pit too. Millworth just behind. So these top boys then doing exactly what we thought could be a possibility here today. And Luke Whitehead, seeing as he was down in 9th, 10th place, got nothing to lose by coming in early and getting something changed over sooner rather than later. We'll go back to this battle then with Hull, who's being chased by Boothby, and he's also chasing Grantis Caracas. Well, unfortunately, the wet weather, yes, it causes some incidents at the beginning, but also slows things down a little bit in the middle part of the race.
To be fair, the wet weather, although, yes, you're not seeing people absolutely hammering in those amazing lap times that people love to sit at home and watch, it is amazing watching the drivers battle with the changing conditions. The simulation doesn't give you the exact identical lap every time round. The water does seem to sit slightly differently every time, as it would in real life. And obviously you do end up with a bit of a dry racing line from time to time. Not quite at the moment. It's very, very wet out there. Jose Caracas actually made huge improvements on his first lap, I think, taking advantage of the cars recovering from the bump with Whitehead. Also noticed that Walshingham has come into the pit as well, got his early pit stop done. So it's quite weird when you look at the back of the field. It's just a list of the very tippy top names, really. It's the kind of people you'd normally see inside the top 5. So it's going to be interesting to see how all those drivers come back. Samir Foch in, Hladky and De Campo all into the pits as well. Okay. So, well, depending on how they come out of the pit, though, there's suddenly going to be a lot of traffic further back. It's not just 1 or 2 drivers taking advantage of loads of clean air. There's suddenly going to be mid-traffic. So these people that are jumping in now might not be able to take quite such a big advantage.
Definitely. I think they'll definitely come out behind Goldsaw, Walshingham and Makowski. There is a pack there that's running together. We're on board at the moment with Luke Whitehead, but as you can see here, you've got the likes of Walshingham and Makowski going side by side through the final corner. Clark Curve, definitely not one you want to go side by side in, and definitely do not want to go side by side into this first corner. They're going to go side by side into Paddock Hill Bend. Aidan Walshingham taking a wide line, cuts in, and he just about loses out there. Fantastic commitment there from Aidan Walshingham and Makowski. And they do sort themselves out, but this is what we're talking about. This is what definitely you don't want to get caught in, and it's a battle when you've made an alternate strategy try and come to life for you. You need to do what Luke's doing and what Black Goldsword's doing. Get your head down, try and get out of place, maybe even out of that kind of race you've got going on behind. Maybe even drop back for a lap and then start pushing, because it might come to benefit you later on by just losing a few tenths to the guy that you're racing with. It will come better later on. You could always try and make a push. You never know. Conditions could change.
Yeah, so obviously these drivers not having to pit again. It's simply a case of, they can just wait it out, see what happens. It's wet. The likelihood of people making mistakes is greatly increased in the wet. So say, about pitted drivers, technically the pitted driving leading is obviously Whitehead at the moment, with Black Goldsword ringing along behind him as well. Black Goldsword obviously on a controller as well. I mean, he is an absolute wizard when it comes to controller racing, but in the wet, that adds another complex level of control. Having to catch that snap oversteer that you might be getting in these mid-engine cars. It's going to be very difficult if all you have is a sort of, half an inch long joystick.
It's tough. I mean, you've got to do a lot of time in that car to get the car where it's usable and right. He used to run around in the Bentley, used to be very compliant, I think, with what he was doing on that controller. I know there were some people in the sim racing community that weren't really too keen to have someone so fast and so quick and controlled as Black Goldsword doing what he was doing at one point on a controller. Has taken a slight step back in recent years, but back now, I think, as a stablemate, really, and an old timer, a statesman of AOR. So yeah, good to see him performing well. And I would say arguably a shout at the moment for a podium if he can stay within touch with Luke Whitehead. He is dropping back slightly, but he's just got to stay there, and you never know what's going to go up ahead. You are watching at the moment the battle between Boothby and Hall. Hall seems to be battling with the car more so than he is with Boothby, as he struggles on understeer, not really getting what he wants out of that car. It's not compliant on entry or exit by the looks of things, so he's battling everywhere. The rain's not helping, but if you notice how the car is very unbalanced in the middle part of the corner as he tries to put the power on, it was okay there, but struggling, I think, from the number 150, and it's losing him time slightly to George Boothby, who's just biding his time, waiting for his position to strike. And I think it's going to have to be when the guy in front makes a mistake. And it is hard to overtake here. Now, what people say, it's a tough old track to get round someone.
Yeah, really, you really are waiting for someone to just miss the apex by sort of a foot or two and ruin their exit. So, especially through this part of the circuit, it's super difficult all the way through Westfield, Dingledale, all the way through there. You need to be running absolutely clean. First driver to dip into the 128s. Jardier has done it, 128.850, and the fastest lap of the race. So comparing that to our leaded pitted driver of it's Whitehead, isn't it? His last was a 120. Well, last actually was a 129.3. So at the moment, Jardier still opening that gap up little bit by little bit, and say obviously he has the advantage of a completely clear road in front, no spray, no traffic in front of him, and at the moment is really starting to gap barrier by nearly 2 seconds at this point. So massive gain for Jardier, and that pole position in qualifying really did come dividends for him.
Yeah, it definitely has. I think Jodier's just in a really good position this afternoon. I'm not surprised that McLaren's are doing well. I think Luke Whitehead, will be suffering a little bit with that Audi, to be fair, in the wet weather condition. don't think this is really one for him, so I think it's just get the best he can out of that car. Now, if you're looking at the championship, you've really got to be thinking, if you're Jay Riley or Valentin Barrier, really need to maximise the points given to you today and absolutely make the most of what's in front of you. So he's going to have to, at least, if Valentin Barrier wants to put on a last minute charge for this championship, he's going to have to do something different to Jardier if he wants to put the threats on him slightly. He's hanging back, whether it's through pace alone, I think it is. If you look at the times, 128.8, 128.9 was last. And then you've got 129.4 and 129 dead for Valentin Barrier. So they're roughly around the same, but Jardier is going a couple of tenths faster. Linus is saying Whitehead fastest. Well, arguably.
He has just taken it again, yeah.
128.8 was his fastest there.
And Jardier just putting him
128.7.
It's going to be back and forth, isn't it? I think lap after lap, those two are going to be going at it on the timing board.
Well, it's what they need. It's what Whitehead needs is consistent fast laps to get himself back into this race, isn't he?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Consistency is going to be king here this evening. There's still only 60 minutes of racing, and actually there's just only about 11 minutes of them done. And look at the difference on the board already. And sort of, the bottom. Are we down to 23 cars at the moment? Are we still got them? No, we do still have all 27 cars. It's just my timing screen's throwing a little bit of a wobbly.
Yeah, we've got
all
Gert
the cars
Fischer
back there
at the back still at the moment with Neuwirth, so I'm not too sure what happened with Gert because he wasn't that far back at the beginning, but he is currently running 27th place. But yes, you're right, we don't even have any DQs at the moment, or DCs, sorry. We don't have any disconnects at the moment. Everyone's still running round, and actually quite close, to be honest.
I wonder if the BMW, I just jumped on board for a quick moment. It does look very, very unsettled as he's chasing after the back of Neuwirth. So that's the battle for 26th place. And to be honest, the way they're going at it looks like it's the battle for pole position. So lovely to see the battles going off all throughout the field.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's given up just yet. Yeah, Gert Fischer's so close to Neuwirth. They're right next to each other. There's literally nothing between them. And considering where they are on the track, they might as well battle hard. Because they're not exactly running for the top 10. They're really just having fun at this stage. So you might as well put one up the inside of your door at one point if you get shown a little bit of a gap. You never know. What's the worst that can happen when you're 27th place? Right, let's go up to the top, the spiky end of this race at the moment. Jardier then currently leading. 3 seconds he's got in his pocket to Barrier, who's only got 6 tenths back to Dimitrov. Riley's a further second behind with Grantis Caracas in 5th. Hall in 6th, followed closely by Boothby. This race has been going on for a little while, and I think it will continue. Felix Hacker has dropped back slightly from this, as you can see him running around in the Porsche. Jay Fang running quite high up for this. For him, to be fair, he's not really graced the top 10 this season. We know he's fast enough, but he's not been able to give it a go so far. I thought we saw a move there, but it wasn't. Conrad Ciata then in the last one inside the top 10, followed closely by Fabrizio Campanella. It looks like the Lamborghinis are doing quite well here today. You've got Campanella Cruz, 11th and 12th, and obviously Dimitrov in 3rd. Papin and Porrico not too far behind those two, but yeah, I mean, they look like they're running okay today.
Yeah, I mean, you say it's been a little while since we've seen any of the Lamborghinis up in the pointy end of the field. I mean, our leading Lamborghini in the championship is Porrico, who's currently running 8th in the championship at the moment. And actually, yeah, and he's all the way down in 22nd this season.
Pitted.
He has pitted.
Where is he really? That's the question we'll find out later.
Well, he could be anywhere between 5th and 10th if you imagine. At the moment, he's running 5th in, or is it 6th? As a pitted car, and then you think about the drivers at the front. So it really could be all over the shop, couldn't it?
Yeah. Well, we've got a fantastic race at the moment with Ciata and Campanella. Campanella driving that Lamborghini like a man possessed through turns 1 and 2, managing to keep it on the black stuff, not making the mistakes. Ciata went slightly defensive into turn 1, but Campanella not really having a run. It's good to see these guys throwing around the cars despite the conditions. Leaving nothing out there.
Yeah, it really is a challenge.
Sorry.
I was saying, it really is a challenge out here in this kind of weather to throw the car around, try and be aggressive, make moves. That normally on a dry track, you could sort of come off the line a little bit, put your nose up the inside, just unsettle the car in front of you. Not something you can really do here. That means you're coming off the racing line, you're getting more moisture on the tyres as you hit the wet. It's very, very risky. You can't run as wide on an exit because obviously you've got to be careful with the wet curbs. So it really does, it becomes a case of waiting for someone to make a mistake and go off the racing line in front of you, and then hope that you manage to get a run and possibly pass them on a straight, or pass them while they've gone washing wide on a corner. New entrance to the Valentine barrier fastest lap with a 1:28.742 last time round. So that is a nice improvement.
Linus saying, I think this is the first time the commentators have nailed all of the names' pronunciation. Well, I don't know about that. Some of these boys we've been racing with us for a little while, and they've corrected us in the past. Not like in the other league, SRO. Well, I know. Hell, how can we possibly comment on that? We are just well rehearsed in this this current grid, aren't we, Tim?
Simply. At some point, my dyslexia will kick in, and I'll just have a complete moment of not being able to speak anything. Quick on Gratis Caracas into the pits as well. So sort of an earlier than standard pit stop, but not that early. So it didn't look like he was really having much of a battle, but obviously decided he wants to pit a bit earlier and see if he can try his luck.
Oh, interesting then. If he's come in, Luke Whitehead has very much so overtaken him. Black Gold Saw also would have overtaken him, I think. Caracas leaving the pit now. As he? No, he's not. He's still there. Well, that is how much that that undercut is really playing dividend for some of these boys. They've got a huge lead on Grantis Caracas. He must have pitted. He was definitely inside the top 10, wasn't he? Wasn't he fighting around Jay Fang and Seata kind of area? Maybe I'm...
Yeah, I want to say he was like 6th or 7th as he came into the pit. But yeah, he's lost an absolute monstrous amount. He might have just gone a lap down, because that's... He's just been passed by our leader. Car number 39 has just gone winging on by. So I think actually now Caracas is dead last.
Maybe he had an incident. What? I think maybe. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe, I don't know how long the pit is.
I'm going to go back a full minute to see. No, that's just him in the pit. So I didn't see anything there. I thought maybe I can go back.
Okay.
In fact, right. You stay on the live. I'm going to go back into the lovely world of replay and see if I can see what happened there.
Okay. Well, we're currently on lap 10, so it must have happened on, well, 11 technically. It must have happened around 9, 8 somewhere. So have a little look. Caracas, just for your reference, is 919. So you can find him a little easier. Right, we'll stay with some of these other boys. Jay Fang has pitted, and he was inside the top 10. So I'll be very interested to see where he comes out, because he is one that we can yardstick against the other. That is Luke Whitehead going past. You can hear him as he screeches past. Here comes Black Gold Saw. He's going to be coming out now, and you can see Jay Fang exiting the pit there, and he is behind Mikowski, and he'll be fighting Aidan Walsingham on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend. Oh, and look at Fang going really defensive as they come down to Druids, holding on to the inside. And fantastic move there from Fang, getting past Aidan Walsingham, and he's not happy. Walsingham flashing those lights. Remy Papin, unfortunately, has got himself a 15-second time penalty. No idea for that. And yeah, Linus saying just some Ferrari strategy for Grantis. Maybe. I'm not too sure. I think he must have had an incident to get him all the way back down there. He might have even reset to the pit. I don't know. We'll find out. And this is interesting now, and it is starting to happen. George Boothby comes into the pit from well inside the top 10. So we'll see what happens with some of these other boys coming in around him. You've got Semenensky also pulling it into the pit from 13th place. It'll be interesting to see where he comes out and what this has really done for Luke Whitehead's race as he comes through the final sector. I think that's going down into Stirling's. It is. He goes down towards Clark Curve. Luke Whitehead then, he's got to get himself up inside that top 5 with this early pit stop. Black Gold Saw's not far behind. We've got Mikowski who's followed him. He hasn't been able to break away as such. Luke Whitehead definitely has. Got himself nearly 4 seconds to Black Gold Saw. When he came out, it was only 1 or 2. So there is the gap. Semenensky coming out. And, well, Boothby then comes out behind Luke Whitehead. So that's very interesting. So Luke Whitehead's got himself at the moment provisionally 5th, 6th place, I would say. So he's undone the damage that he had on the first lap incident with Hull. He'll be fighting Hull then, and when they come into the pit, I would have thought. So interesting stuff. Luke Whitehead might have got himself up inside that top 5, but he will pay for it towards the end of this race, I think, Tim. Any news?
Yeah, right, so news. Gratis Caracas could not see any real reason, but suddenly was way off the pace and was actually in the clutches of Hall at the end of the lap. They were basically side by side as he went into the pit entrance. So not sure what happened, whether it's maybe a hardware issue or maybe made a mistake, maybe just didn't fuel, maybe it was only running qualifying fuel or something strange like that, and he had to come into the pits earlier, maybe had to go on a bit of a fuel save. Yeah, so not sure why, but was suddenly vastly off his normal pace. So maybe it was just a strange Ferrari strategy, or maybe the lap time fell away from him while he was in car trying to set things up. You never know. You have to do all your own tyre pressures and fuel amounts and correct tyre choices and everything in this game. So not a case of someone else doing it for you. Another thing that I have just noticed, Remy Papin with a 15-second penalty. That was for a lap 1 incident. Brakes too late and moves under braking to avoid the car ahead and tagged kind of a 63, causing a moderate collision. So 15-second penalty added. That would have to take all the way to the end of the race, as they have already completed their mandatory pit stop.
Yeah, that was the Neuwirth issue. I think we saw Neuwirth may have collected, I can't remember who he went with. Someone else got caught up in that, I know definitely. Can't remember who it was though. Anyway, that was for the incident there. I did notice Luke Whitehead going absolutely hell for leather through the final sector to try and gap the charging Boothby behind him. So this is going to be a very interesting race as this hots up. I think Jardier then trades the fastest lap, 128.6, gets himself, well, he's dropping a little bit of pace from barrier behind, so we'll have to see what happens there. What have we got going on here with everyone around him? Who am I looking for? Oh, there he is, sorry, I was getting confused. Valentin Barrier, second place, Dimitrov third, Riley is in fourth place. It'll be interesting to see when these boys decide to pull the trigger on the pit. Mellis does as well. Alessio Mellis, I think that's the first time we've seen him this season.
I think he's been here a few races. I will double check. I'm sure I've seen Mellis. I recognise the name from Tier 2. Yeah, he's been here for all rounds apart from Spa.
He's been here the whole time.
He's been here the whole time. 17th place was his best,
okay.
And that was back at Laguna Seca, I believe. Yes, it was Laguna Seca.
Apologies, Mellis. Well, he's running around in 11th place at the moment, and he's pitting. So Luke Whitehead takes that position away from him. George Boothby also gets dropped by Hacker, Mikowski, Fang, Walsingham 2. Papin also jumps him. Black Goldsaw's dropped massively back. We've missed that. Not too sure why. Oh, he's screwed up the pit. He was sideways in the pit entrance. He's had an absolute shocker. Not too sure what's happened with Black Goldsaw. Should we go back a few seconds? Apologies, everyone watching. We're going to see what happened to Black Goldsaw. He was fighting, by the looks of things, with Aidan Walsingham, maybe. No, I don't know who that is. And he's moving out of the way. So he's had an incident on the lap. Not too sure where, why, or what, or how. He's struggling with the car as he comes into the pits. Gets the entry wrong. Spins the car and resets to pit. So, yeah, I think that might be all she wrote for Black Goldsaw, unfortunately. He is out then. No further competition from the Dutchman. Never mind. We'll see him next time, I'm sure. Jardier then still leading, but he is dropping pace here. 1.7 now from Valentin Barrier. Valentin Barrier is putting on a fantastic stint here. And it's the first stint of the race. So, looks like they're going 50-50, these boys, with 30 to go.
I suppose with as much clean air as they have, it would make sense to keep pushing as long as possible. I think car number 39 of Jardier is going to be catching up with... Well, there is traffic in front, car number 22, but it has to be very graciously moving out the way for everyone. So I think technically the first racing car they're going to come across is car number 78. And although that car will be under blue flags, very, very difficult to make any kind of passes here this evening.
The top three will jump Whitehead if they pit. Yeah, well, I think so. I think so. We'll have to see what happens. Luke Whitehead, I think he's good enough for about fourth, fifth, maybe. Maybe. I think fifth, definitely. He'll have a fight on. It all depends on how fast Hall's been going, really, recently. 129.4 was last, whereas Whitehead was 129 dead. So it's going faster, and the gap wasn't that far back between him and Boothby. So, yeah, I think fifth place is up for grabs for the Ripper. George Boothby, though, not able to keep up with the pace of Whitehead on the opening few laps of this stint, but I think he will come back to him later, let's say.
Yeah, the gap for first has halved. It's now down to, well, it was 1.5 seconds just a moment ago, so that was very much an improvement on the nearly 3 seconds that Jardier had. But yeah, Valentin Barrier on an absolute mega charge in comparison to Jardier. Whether that's just a case of Jardier either A, getting distracted by talking to his fans, or B, maybe just trying to sort of just limit the risk of going off. Obviously, no point pushing absolutely flat out all the time if you don't need to, and maybe just managing the gap a little bit. But Valentine Barrier has definitely got the blinkers on. He is absolutely zeroed in on the back of Jardier, and he will be desperate to make his soggy approach up behind Jardier.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was an incident lap before last. Last lap was a 1:29.2. Last lap for Barrier was a 1:29.1, so it didn't happen there, but the gap dropped from 3 seconds down to about 1.7 2 laps ago. So I think there must have been an off somewhere for Jardier. I'm sure he'll tell us at the end if we get the chance to speak to him. But I think they've somewhat evened themselves out now as he gets his rhythm back slightly. Both of them doing 28.9s. So yeah, I think back to normal running procedure. But yeah, I think something happened, scary, but nothing disastrous. He had some time in his pocket to fend off any incidents like that. I think we're all good, all fine. Carry on.
I think we've just lost car number 22 from the race. I saw them being lapped then by our leaders, and that was Szymanski. And yes, I saw them as a yellow flag parked at the side of the road. I think they've decided to call it a day. Obviously, just not feeling comfortable with the pace they have out there. Sometimes the smart thing to do, you don't want to end up being a bit too slow and causing incidents. If it's a circuit you're not comfortable with, or the car's just not working for you, sometimes it's better to just take a DNF and just kind of roll with the punches on that one.
Yeah, I'm not too sure why he's fallen back so much. He was around 13th place when Boothby came into pit, so yeah, I mean, sad times, but I'm sure he'll be back next week. He might have had an incident like we had with Black Gold Saw. Grantis Caracas also in the pit and right down at the bottom of the pack, so he's obviously had some problems too. So yeah, I mean, there's obviously things going on with these drivers and the conditions. Yeah, not too sure.
Well, that's Caracas' second pit, isn't it? He did pit and then rejoined, and we saw him out there. So, yeah, a bit of a shame. Things not going well for him this time round.
Not a season for Grantis Caracas, is it, really, considering how high he was flying last time. He was fighting for the championship, really, at one point. Always played second fiddle, I think, to Luke Whitehead, but fantastic teammate all the same. Was always there to help and give support, and it was 1-2s as well throughout the season. But yeah, really falling off at the latter part of this season, unfortunately for Grantis, but he'll be back, I'm sure, fighting at the top spots like we are used to him doing. Let's go then, talking of the top spots. Jardier has pulled out about half a second, so obviously those issues that we saw were only glimmers in comparison to what he's been able to do today.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we have seen a fair few times from Jardier is when he needs to, he does sort of refocus himself, gets himself back in the game, well, literally gets himself back in the game and just can keep pushing on. He can really put in fast laps. I mean, it is a real skill what he does, to be fair, being able to sort of basically commentate on his own race and talk to everyone and read chat and put down lap times like he is. I can barely do this bit, and I'm not even having to race at the same time. I know whenever I am racing, it tends to be very, very quiet, and then usually just a few expletives as I make a mistake, or I'm just giving myself abuse for not being as quick as I want to be. So yeah, big shout out for being able to do what he does. I'm going to be interested to see if Makowski can get inside the top 10. He's currently running in 14th place. Obviously, the top 10 of this race currently have not pitted. I think I might have been on the money with a Makowski top 10 finish.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely, considering he's on that that kind of pit jumping boys that are down there in well, you've got 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and he's actually fighting with Fang at the moment. Almost had a move on Hacker. Hacker had a disastrous start to the lap, and that put Makowski in a good position as Hacker does go wide. And yeah, there's a good little battle going on here. We'll stay with this group. They look like one of the most competitive groups that we've got out there at the moment. Fang looking like he wants a bit of the action ahead. Makowski just behind Hacker then. Hacker looks like the slowest one of the four, and he's unfortunately leading. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some moves in the next few laps or so from these guys.
Okay, another incident just popped up on screen as well. That is for car number 28, Porco. So that is for lap 1. God, lots of cars involved there. So that was car number 6, 88, 22, 63, 144, 78, 99, and 28, and that's a 20-second penalty and 2 licence points. And that was for not keeping a safe distance considering the weather conditions and visibility. Can't react to slowing down, so there we go. It does happen. The spray on board these cars is absolutely immense. When you're following one car, it's bad enough. When you've got an absolute field of cars in front of you, it is just like driving blindly into fog. I think, trying to think who it was a few years back at Spa, there's that classic bit of footage of one of the F1 cars just absolutely flat out through the smoke as he goes up the Kemmel Straight, doesn't lift whatsoever. Was it Kimi Räikkönen? I'm sure one of the F1 fans at home will know.
I think you're right. Going straight through some ridiculous smoke on the rise of the Kemmel, yeah.
Oh, here we go. Leaders coming in. Jardier, Dimitrov, Riley all into the pits. Stachecki into the pits as well. This is the big shake-up. This is when people's gambles come into play. Who has rolled the dice correctly and who is going to go bankrupt? So Jardier actually already on his... He's already back down, isn't he?
He gets that very quick. Did he change tyre? Or did he just pit?
He needed... It wouldn't have been the mandatory if he hadn't changed tyre. It is a mandatory tyre change, isn't it? So
it just seemed incredibly quick.
How did he... I mean, the game has said it's valid, so... It's immensely fast.
Well, Dimitrov was somewhere close to him, and he's out as well. So obviously Valentin Barrier was the man who stayed out. He wanted a few more laps on these tyres. The problem is he's coming up to the back of Gert Fischer, who is roughly around the back end of the pack. So coming up to some traffic as Barrier pulled it in. No, he's gone for another. Okay, well, he wants a bit of a free space to see what he can do. See if he can give himself some time towards the end of this race to put some pressure on Jardier. I mean, it's a tough old call. Stay out a little longer. He's obviously decided to make it. Right, well, let's see what's happening then with the other boys around and about. Luke Whitehead then, we've been definitely one to watch on this rejoin, and he is behind Riley, Dimitrov and Jardier. So at the moment, he's provisional 4th. But obviously, Barrier is going to be coming in as well as Hall. Hall has come in, so this is where we thought Luke Whitehead will be. So we'll stay with the Ripper as he comes through the final section. Hall is still in the pit. I think he might jump then 5th for 4th. Interesting. Very interesting. Or might jump 5th. We'll have to see. It's all been released yet. He has. He's got the green light. He'll be trundling down the pit at a very slow rate. See if we can peek over the wall and see him. I didn't see him there. I don't see him on the exit either. Looks like he has jumped him. He's got ahead. You can see him on the exit there of the pit. So Luke Whitehead up into 5th place, I think, in this race. And yeah, he's back where he
took a position there as well. Yeah, Boothby through as well there. Yeah, and I will say Boothby looking very racy on the back of Whitehead. I think that Ferrari may be feeling a little bit more stable, or it's simply the that British blood letting him race through the rain like it's dry. Yeah, Boothby on an absolute charge.
Yeah. I think he's had time to get that car up to temperature now. He was following, and I think Luke Whitehead will probably start falling back a few tenths here and there now, just considering the degradation, a little bit of atrophy coming into that car. Last time around, Luke Whitehead was a 130. George Boothby was a low 129. That goes to show then Luke Whitehead slowly starting to struggle, considering his early pit stop. Doesn't look as aggressive on the curbs as he did in the middle part of this race. So yes, maybe clock ticking for the Ripper, but still got himself into a fantastic position. He can hold on here. Definitely a hard one to pass. But it's if someone gets a run coming out of a corner like George Boothby has now, you might see something down into turn 1 on Paddock Hill Bend. But I mean, it's risky given the conditions.
Just noticed that Barrier is coming out the pits now. He's going to be very close with Dimitrov. He does come out just behind Dimitrov, car number 44.
So losing out 1 position then on the pit stop for Valentin Barrier. 2 or 3 laps, wasn't it? And you've dropped that far back. Sorry, mate.
No, that's absolutely fine. I say, looking at Dimitrov's lap times, I think also that played a massive part in it. So with mid 128s, there were decent lap times in these ever soggy conditions here at Brands Hatch. I think it was very much a case of maybe just the wrong strategy mixed with very, very strong pace from Dimitrov. So be interested to see, though, How can Barrier come back? And looking at everyone in front of them now, Ciata, Campanella, Cruz and Rashanov, I think they are all going to be dropping back behind our leaders.
Yes.
As a Jardier already sort of basically coming up to the end of the lap now, only 2 corners to go till he gets to the line. So anyone in the pits at this point is definitely going to get past.
Well, Jardier's done himself a real favour here. He's got himself really 4 seconds ahead of his competition that was Valentin Barrier, because he decided to pit, and obviously Barrier decided to stay out a few extra laps, has ultimately put himself at a massive disadvantage. They went in about 2.5-3 seconds to each other. Now they've come out definitely over 4 as the shuffle that you were talking about is happening in front of us. Jardier into second place, then Campanella holding on to the top spot just provisionally as Raishanov goes a little bit further down. I'm watching this fight between Valentin Barrier and Riley. I did say that Riley's skills around here in a Ferrari in the wet would be slightly questioned just because we haven't measured them. He, I think, is slightly being pinned back by the likes of Luke Whitehead, who's just ahead of him in that Audi. And I think, really, if he didn't have the Ripper in front of him, he would be threatening Valentin Barrier and Dimitrov for a podium place here today. I was Boothby, sorry, Boothby, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're on championship points? I do apologise, yeah,
No,
so I
sorry,
was looking at Riley and I was saying, that's okay.
I did say Riley, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fine. I just was trying to make sure I wasn't looking at it wrong. Jonathan Riley, 0.1 up on his lap, 0.2 up on his lap time at the moment. So, of all the people flying, actually, I think Riley might be an absolute stonker of a lap. Hall as well, putting in a really good one.
So now the cars have actually warmed up slightly, haven't they, since that pit? So
yeah,
Riley was the one that I said was the unmeasured. We weren't sure what he's going to do in these conditions. Boothby was the one that we said it might be a solid bet, but obviously he's been pinned back by Luke Whitehead, is what I was trying to say.
I knew what you meant. I just got, well, my brain was getting a little bit confused.
No, I got them mixed round. It was me too.
They're all Ferraris. There's lots of Ferrari choices here. Just one's blue and one's red on my screen. So I think Jonathan Riley should be a different colour, but mine, for some reason, I'm having issues with mine.
Mine's red
too.
too.
Oh, yours is red too.
Yeah,
that's absolutely fine then. It was all good.
He's a Scarlet Ferrari for me as well. I wouldn't worry. It looks nice, that new Ferrari, doesn't it?
It does. I'm a little bit... It depends on the livery. Sometimes the back end of them can look a little bit strange. Can look a little bit unfinished sometimes. That sort of weird mesh grille on the back. I think I preferred the back end of the old Ferrari. But sort of everything else about it is absolutely lovely. The only issue is obviously when I'm racing, I'm always looking at the back of one of them. I never get to look back in my mirror and see the front because I'm usually bringing up the rear of the field. Someone who is actually possibly trying to get a look at the front of a Ferrari is Oscar Hall, 0.5 up on his lap time, chasing after Boothby. Still a fair old way back, but my goodness, what a lap time! 0.6 up already.
Yeah, improving up there. Oh yeah, he is absolutely throwing it around. So is Dimitrov as well, to be fair. I think this little pack's going to come to him though, because you've got Luke Whitehead who's going definitely slower than his competitors around. Last time out was a 129.1. Boothby being pinned back with a 129.2, but the guys ahead of him looked 128.6, 128.9, 128.6, 128.7. So yeah, he's definitely going slower than other people inside the top 5. So yeah, I think one to get past as soon as possible. But I mean, it's only a few tenths. It's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah, a few tenths here is, again, it is that thing of just turning in a few inches too late for a turn or just getting on the brake that little bit too late. It's really going to be a case of, again, as we said, waiting for people to make mistakes. Just notice the track temperature has actually decreased ever so slightly, just by 1 degree. It's now 24 degrees track temp. I very much doubt we're going to see it dip below 23 throughout the space of the race. Obviously, the in-game time is 3:45 in the afternoon, so we're not going to get that nighttime sort of dip in temperature. But this is, I think, the closest Boothby's been in a little while, and in a position where he might be able to make some moves as they're coming now into sector 3. Oh, and there we go. Campanella, who was our provisional pole leader, is now in, so Jardier will re-inherit pole position. Still absolutely flying everyone out there at the moment. Say, oh, I think we're starting to see a little bit of that Whitehead power sliding, possibly. I think I just caught that on the edge of my screen.
He's struggling, I think.
Yeah, that car's starting to be unsettled. And there we go. Jardier officially in pole position now. Everyone is pitted. Interesting to see where Campanella comes out, to be fair. I think he's probably going to lose a fair old few positions, but he's there. And there we go, Makowski inside the top 10. I think he's going to be in 9th place when all of this is finished. Yes, he has. 9th place, so happy to see.
He's in 11th, I think, after that. Whether Jay Fang gets him on the exit, I don't think he has. Oh, no, he definitely has. They're way ahead. Campanella will fall back a little further, I think. It'll go down to about 13th, 14th place, maybe. Remy Papin behind him. Yeah, so there you go. That sorted itself out. Wasn't too bad, to be fair. I think he might have gained some time by a little bit, at least, by going in the fresh air, because he was battling with people. So I don't think it was a bad thing for someone in his situation. Never mind. Right, Luke Whitehead still holding up George Boothby. He is 5th. Riley then in 4th, going very fast, actually, trying to collect the back of Valentine Barrier. I mean, yeah, I think they might be able to, a lot of these guys might be able to reach each other. It's another thing trying to overtake. So, yeah, I mean, we'll keep an eye on what happens, whether these little second gaps that we've got at the moment do come down. But if you look at the likes of Boothby, who's been behind Luke Whitehead for so long, it's going to be really tough to actually get the overtake done. Yes, you can get up to the back of someone, but getting past is going to be the real hard task. And considering Luke Whitehead is on much older tyres, he should be one of the easier cars to pass. Trying to get past one of the others who's pitted only a few laps ago, it's going to be next to impossible, I think, given the conditions.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, just a quick look at the battle for 9th place, Makowski versus Walshingham. Again, you keep seeing Walshingham on the timing board getting right onto the back bumper of Makowski, but there's nowhere to go round. There's just you can't run the curb on the inside edge to try and get a bit of an advantage, just because it's so slippery. You end up oversteering, and if you end up washing out wide, then again, it's just a cascade of issues when you go off the racing line in an attempt to gain some sort of position or an advantage. Again, it just really is kind of a case of just trying to keep your nose as clean as possible, trying to keep those tyres at the right temperature, keep your brakes up to temperature as well. All these things that the drivers have to try and deal with in these wet conditions.
There's not much time to do it either. Only 18 minutes to go. Boothby is still behind Luke Whitehead, but edging closer each lap that we go through, but every lap that he's behind, the further his tyres drop off as well. And I think, if I'm right in saying, he's got Hall right behind him, looking quite racy as well. So Boothby's got to get something under his belt, otherwise he's going to come under threat from Hall behind. So yeah, interesting. Couple of laps ahead, I think, for Luke Whitehead and George Boothby. Valentine Barrier has got himself only half a second behind Dimitrov, so these gaps are slowly coming down. That's dropped back actually to now 9/10 as Riley gets nearly half a second. It's getting so close between these guys. They're going to be fighting out, I think, towards the end of this race, as Boothby gets well inside that 3/10 kind of margin down into Druids. Thinks about a move, but still too far back. Much better on the middle part of that apex corner, as Luke Whitehead almost lifts off the throttle just to settle the car, and Boothby jumps ahead of him almost, as it looks like, but still no way past. The Audi's big, she have wide hips and they don't lie. Boothby still behind in 6th place. Hall 6/10 behind him in 7th. It's going to give a good little bit of time to Hacker, Makowski and Walsingham if they can get a hurry on. Luke Whitehead could cause a few issues moving back. We've still got 15 minutes to go. It's possible, at least, as Valentine Barrier and Riley kind of eke out their gap. Now 7/10 and 1.2 behind each other. Must have been a little wobble from someone inside the top 2 or 3 a second ago, because it did dip down, didn't it?
Yeah, there's definitely been a little sort of again, it's a case of just putting your tyre a little bit into the wet. I think Boothby's going to be in trouble here. If he cannot make a move in the next lap, or maybe 2, I think we're going to see Hall make a move on Boothby. Hall's looked very, very brave. He's looked very racy. He's willing to throw his car up the inside of a turn. If you leave a gap, we've watched Hall do some really wonderful things with his car. So, okay, coming off a 2nd place last time round, let's say he's had 2 second places, a 15th and a 35th. So the 35th maybe is not quite such a characteristic race for him. But he's been a very, very quick boy this season, and now you can see them really, really closing up. Not a car length between them. And Boothby maybe being a little bit courteous of Whitehead. These two have known each other quite a long time. They've raced together many times. Whereas, you know, Hall is pretty new to the season, and he's new to AOR as well. So I think it's going to be a case of maybe he's out to sort of, you know, slay some giants, really. And the two cars in front are giants to be slayed.
Definitely. Big scalps to be had just up ahead. But yeah, I mean, Boothby's fought Luke Whitehead for championships for many seasons. I think came third in season 11, only about 40-odd points behind Luke Whitehead, who came second. Tinker van der Velde won his one and only Apex Online Racing Championship in Tier 1, which was tears all around for him. Fantastic season he had. And I think go back to season 10, possibly. I think Boothby was there. Can't remember if he goes that far back, to be fair. Luke Whitehead's maiden victory. Black Gold Saw came second. So that's how long BGS has been with us. Valentine Barrier, the furthest he's ever finished, third place in season 10. Fantastic season for him. He's currently trailing behind the boy that we're watching right now. He's in second place behind Luke Whitehead, who's in first with 332 points. Not going to be able to put maximum down today. Valentine Barrier is definitely going to be able to put a few more points down. And he does need to improve if he wants to keep these title hopes alive. And how does he do that? He's got to get ahead of Vanko Dimitrov, who is only just ahead of him, 3/10. This gap's come down in the past few laps. Valentine Barrier fancies 88 points rather than 70-odd. In third, he wants more. He wants the maximum amount. Jardier, I think, is too far ahead. 88 looks good, though. A little double bubble for Valentine Barrier as he's behind Dimitrov. He wants to make moves into the back of Luke Whitehead's sizable championship tally, and the only way he's going to do that is by getting a little further up the grid. And he's got the Bulgarian, we think we found, of Vanko Dimitrov just ahead in second place, who wants to finish well. He's driven well all day, really, to be fair, hasn't he? All evening he's had a good session.
Yeah, really clean racing from him. Haven't really had any issues to sort of say. He hasn't sort of got his nose dirty. He's kept it really nice and clean. He's done a really good job of just keeping that Lamborghini up on the pointy end of the field. I mean, he's the fastest Lamborghini by a long old way. Remy Papin all the way down in 13th place, who is our second running Lamborghini, and then Cruz, who's running in third place Lamborghini. And actually, Papin obviously still to serve his a 15-second penalty. Bit of a change inside the top 10 though. Hall has picked up a 5-second penalty, and that was for lap 1. So car number 150 and car number 55 got together, and it was a reduced time penalty down to 5 seconds. But I'm going to go quiet actually, because I think there might be a move into turn 2 here. Boothby looking very, very racy. Has he done it?
Again, did they?
Yeah, it was super close. I mean, they were nearly bumper to bumper as they came through the dip. But this is possibly now. What are we going to see from Hall? Are we going to see? Oh, we're going to see him trying to go around the outside of Boothby with a 5-second penalty, not slowing him down. Is this even more fight to push forward and try and gain positions? Maybe he's just desperate to gain every little bit of track advantage he possibly can. But as I said, if Boothby didn't get the overtake done soon, he was going to be under attack from Hall. And here we are, Hall all over the back of his ankles, like an angry Jack Russell.
Yeah, I mean, I think something happened with Boothby there. He got tripped over himself, I think. I think he's still struggling. Not too sure. It looks like he's almost clipping towards the faster points of the track. Really strange for Boothby. Not too sure what's going on. Might have had a slight issue. I know he does stream his stuff, doesn't he? So might have a few little issues going on in the car there that's causing him a few problems. Might be a centering issue on the wheel. Who knows? For someone to drop off pace like that so dramatically and continue it at least, it seems to maybe point towards he's got a hardware problem, but you never know. It is easy to sort out if you've got, you know, if you're in a position to be able to do it. Sometimes it stays with you, sometimes it doesn't. If it's a recentering issue, sometimes it's all good. I know at least if he's running around on Thrustmaster gear, you have to pull over and recenter the wheel and get going again, as one of my old teammates used to have to do on occasion in endurance racing. Don't think you have to do with the Fanatec stuff. I think it does sort itself out sometimes, though. It can be completely terminal. I'm pretty sure we saw the likes of, I can't remember who it was now, completely pull the car over. It might have been Boothby at, blimey, what's the Italian track that we don't really go to anymore? It's normally,
Mazzano?
Yes, Mazzano. He was running around leading the championship. I think it was Boothby. It could be someone else. And he had to actually retire the car.
Yeah, I mean,
disaster.
we've seen it before where cars have seemingly just speared off the end of straights. Actually, I think one of my favourite ones ever was I remember seeing. Oh god, my brain's Morphe. There we go. I think that was one of our endurance races in the dark at COTA. I think this is when you actually were meant to be competing that race, and you ended up having a quick join with us in the booth. I think it was the back straight of COTA when we had Morphe go spearing off the end of the straight, simply because it was so dark and horrible out there. Yeah, we've seen. Oh, we had a yellow flag and then someone into the pits immediately. I didn't see the name. It just suddenly came in. Who? Or have they left? Oh, car number 919 of Caracas.
He's still there.
And a car number 6 as well. I've just seen pop up with a yellow flag. Car number 6. Car number 6. That was Remy Papin.
Looks like Campanella's letting people through. Not too sure what happened with him, but at least, yeah, something's going on. Well, Boothby seems to have got pace back, and he's got rid of the chasing Hull. Which is good. He's shaken that monkey on his shoulder, and he is now starting to build pace on the back of Luke Whitehead again. Valentin Barrier is still there on the back of Dimitrov, still looking to get past. Definitely threatening Dimitrov. Dimitrov managed to do it in the pits, and this is what we thought might happen towards the end of the race. He's got the pace on him to maybe make a move later on. Yeah, definitely faster, definitely more secure on the brakes, definitely a little bit better as Dimitrov moves wildly to the inside and gets a knock on the rear end, definitely for that. And unfortunately, Dimitrov didn't really give Valentin Barrier much choice in what to do there. He almost snookered himself. That's a very fast corner to be moving, especially in a braking zone. I think, to be fair, considering the incident, that's the penalty he's going to pay for that. That seemed very silly to be doing it on, I think it was the left-hander of Sheen Curve. Right-hander, sorry, just before Sterling's. You definitely don't want to be doing something like that there. He dived to the inside and then back to the racing line and then got booped on the rear because he did it in the braking zone. I mean, what could have Valentin Barrier done at that stage? And that's let Riley right up the back of him. Dimitrov has dropped back down to 4th, and he's lost himself, technically, a podium here. He was on for a fantastic result, and he's let Jonathan Riley and Barrier through because of a little bit of maybe pride coming in there. Didn't want to let that position go. I don't think the change really was on at that corner. Yeah, odd thing to do. Never mind.
Does happen though, a little bit of that sudden moment of, oh, someone's going to try and dip up the inside, and you try and close the gap, and the driver behind you is thinking, I see a gap and I'm going for it. I did notice as well that Barrier really backed off the throttle after the incident. I almost thought he was going to give the position back. I think only the fact that obviously Riley was suddenly right on his tail that maybe sort of made him put his foot back down and keep pushing on, and Dimitrov was not as quick to get back on the throttle after going off. But yeah, now Riley obviously smells blood in the water, and he is all over the back of that car. And I think we might see the Ferrari pass Barrier now. That would have definitely shaken Barrier's confidence. It can sometimes really get inside your head when you have a little incident.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think Barrier, if he can just stay calm and get back onto the pace that he had before, he might be able to hold on to this. I think maybe what he did, obviously he was the one who initiated the contact, let's say. He made contact with Dimitrov. It wasn't Dimitrov making contact with him, because obviously he was the chasing car. So maybe he thought, right, well, if he's just slightly spun, I can let him back on, we can join again together, and all is sorted. But he saw Riley overtake Dimitrov, Whitehead coming along closely behind as well, albeit only a few seconds down the road. You can only wait for so long, and if you see that person's been overtaken, sometimes that position is gone, and it's down to the stewards to make that decision whether it was, an avoidable collision or not. And that is the rule of the law, isn't it? Is it a necessary, unnecessary, avoidable collision? A minor collision, let's say, but was it avoidable? And I don't think it was in Barrier's case. I don't think he had really much choice in anything to do. He didn't outbrake himself. He didn't move under braking. He stuck to the line, and unfortunately, his competitor ahead made other arrangements. So yeah, I would be very surprised if Barrier gets himself into deep water with that, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's especially in weather like this. I think you do have the issue of once you've kind of decided what you're doing with the car, there's no real option to make avoiding action. Sometimes you can't. If you've braked as late as you possibly can, you've hit the brake and you know you can make your apex. If, big slide from Barrier Uzi's on the final turn towards the line.
Morphy said,
there we go.
If he was stewarding, there you go, he would vote for no further action. I mean, that's, yeah, considering what we saw. We only saw from the front cam of Barrier's car. We didn't see from the outside, but I think the writing was on the wall there for that one. So, yeah. There might be protests at the end, you never know. Dimitrov might have thought he was being robbed, who knows? I don't think so. I think there'll probably be apologies from the 44's camp when we get back after the race, but we'll see. I mean, Jolier's still leading, that's the main thing. Valentin Barrier 6 seconds behind. Riley then half a second back from him and is threatening for second place. But there's your 1, 2, 3. Dimitrov then, slightly damaged pride there in P4. Luke Whitehead holding on. I don't know how, but he is wrestling with that Audi. And putting George Boothby and Hall into a little bit of an upset there. They are in 6th and 7th place and chasing each other like absolute madmen because of what we've got happening ahead with Luke Whitehead on older tyres, slightly slower in that Audi, causing a little bit of a problem by driving very well. So yeah, I think we might see some tempers fraying from the number 800 and the 150 before the end of this race.
Yeah, I think what Whitehead is doing is just keeping himself on that perfect line. He knows he can't do the absolute fastest laps, but he knows he can be consistent. That is what's giving him the advantage at the moment over these two faster cars behind him. It's just putting himself on the racing line over and over again, not over defending, not sort of compromising his own pace. He's just doing the best he can and putting his car in just the right spot, sort of, covering over the main racing line, which obviously in these conditions is the only way to go quick. Although all very, very sideways at the top of the hill there as he came through paddock. Somehow held onto the position. I really thought Boothby would have been able to take advantage, maybe also being a little bit unsettled as he came down the slope. But so yeah, these three have been at it for probably in excess of 10, 15 minutes now. They've just been sort of going for it. Obviously, Boothby maybe not over-defending and worrying too much. He knows that Hall is carrying that 5-second penalty. So he knows that obviously there's going to be a drop in positions there. I think Hacker's actually going to gain at least one position, gain a position out of that as well. So car number 221 leading Porsche in the top 10, 8th place.
Yeah, I mean, he was, what is he? I don't know, he's 5 seconds behind. Oh no, he will, 5.9. Got to get himself a second in hand, I think, to be able to benefit from that 5-place penalty. But it's possible. Yeah, he could be promoted up to 7th place. Just got to keep himself consistent, hasn't he? Jay Fang getting close for Mikowski there. Your boy in the possibly might actually get overtaken for 10th place. But he's done well to stay in 9th, though, right?
Oh, very well. I think, sort of he started quite a long way back. No, Jay Fang is not a driver to be trifled with. He's a very quick driver, one of my old Tier 2 guys. Rocking that absolutely gorgeous Team Shumi Skins livery as well. With a big dragon all up the side of the car. Really great car to see, to be fair. Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if Jay Fang does manage to make the move on Mikowski. As much as I want to see him inside the top 10, but he will just about be inside the top 10 if Fang gets past him. Little bit of a rooting for the home team, I suppose, when it comes to rooting for Jay Fang to maybe make the position. He'll do it cleanly. If he does do it, he'll do it cleanly. Jay Fang always been a fantastic racer. Oh, goes deep though.
He did that cleanly though.
Went to the outside. Deep and clean. That's all that matters.
He did keep it clean. Yeah, I mean, this Jay Fang's raced with some of the top boys in endurance. I think he's been on quite a few different teams, definitely in the likes of Black Gold Saw and alike. So yeah, he's definitely a fast driver and definitely one you want to have on your rotor at least. We're staying up towards the pointier end then as we get towards the end of this race. Jay Riley dropped back slightly from Barrier. Looks like he's able to keep that car under control as this gaggle of cars still continues to battle tooth and nail to get past Luke Whitehead. I think this is where we might finish off this race because it is getting quite tense behind the Ripper as he not put a foot wrong really, has he, to be fair. He got pushed out by the 150 car and that might be where he got his 5-second penalty from, actually, when you think about it, because obviously there was that little bit of an incident that put Whitehead off the lead. And he had to do an absolute mammoth stint on that tyre. And he's still on that stint, isn't he, really? but he's slower, isn't he? Quite considerably. 129.2. Obviously, Boothby around him. Oh, Hall gets onto the kitty litter. 129.2 from him. 129.4 was last as well. But if you look around, 129 dead was Hacker behind. You've got 129.1 from Dimitrov. Riley doing a 128.8. Now that is really fast considering. Jardier, though, let's not get anything confused. He did a 128.822. That's faster than anyone last lap around, and he's leading.
Well, no, actually, Barrier with a 128.755. So Barrier running in second place. So somehow, well, he's pulled away from Riley. Definitely started to pull away from Riley. That gap was incredibly close. Maybe only 1 or 2 car lengths between them. Now it's starting to pull away. And actually, yeah, to confirm, that 5-second penalty for Hall was from lap 1, the incident involving car number 55 of Luke Whitehead. So it was a reduced time penalty simply because they did say that. So time penalty reduced to minimum of 5 seconds, as car number 55 didn't leave much racing room, although car number 150 was able to take the same line most competitors did. So it's a case of obviously decided that Hall was at fault, but only ever so slightly. And you know, other things could have been done. So, but yeah, that is what happens in the wet at Brands Hatch in the opening few laps. I mean, even in the dry, it tends to be a few. Oh, that's it. I didn't
it's okay.
The line.
I think they got very close to the end, and we didn't realise they actually came across the line with only a few seconds to go. As Jardier actually does it there. It comes across the line and wins as we were talking. I think it happened very quickly. It must have come across the line with only seconds to spare as these boys come to the end here. You've got Porrico, Papin, DeCampo, Statchecki and Newellworth all coming across the line to finish it off. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jardier came to the line there with only a few seconds, and it just ran it out at the end. So yeah, surprised everyone with the final lap coming without us knowing. I mean, incredible drive from Jardier though.
Yeah, really strong drive in really, really hard conditions as well. As again, he chose his strategy right. He managed to managed to get his pit window absolutely nailed. Managed to get his qualifying absolutely spot on from start to finish this evening. Jardier has not put a foot wrong. Really good to see. Just still being such a dominant force up here in Tier 1.
Yeah, I mean, insane pace from the man at the front and converting as well fantastically, which was, most impressive thing to see from Jardier. Well, we had a 1-2-3 was Jardier, Valentin Barrier and Riley. Dimitrov, unfortunately, displacing himself from second all the way down to 4th place there. Luke Whitehead holding on to 5th despite the connection with Hall on lap 1. Boothby trails him, and obviously the latter there in 7th. Felix Hacker in 8th, Mikowski 9th. Jay Fang got the last spot in the top 10. Walsingham, unfortunately, even though he pitted with the likes of Whitehead and Black Goldsaw, didn't quite get inside the top 10. I mean, it was a hard race to watch because the rain there took away a little bit of drama, I think, from us, but added a little bit here and there. But yeah, I mean, I think we got what we deserved with some of those fights. Didn't quite get the side-by-side action that we wanted, but I think we'll definitely get that next time out in Snetterton, isn't it? I think we're off to for the 6th round, penultimate round of season 13. Imola will be the finisher. But we do have, if anything, this round has kept the championship a little bit more alive. If we go back, I might be able to tell you what kind of points we're looking at. Luke Whitehead will come away with 65 points, and I think Dimitrov will come away with 88. So 65 and 88. We do a little bit of maths here. I have got a calculator. So 332 plus 65. We're looking at 397 for Luke Whitehead. And 290 plus the 88, well, that's 370 odd. So yeah, I mean, we're going to be very close now. This is going to be very, very close. 378 points for Valentin Barrier, and 332 plus 65, 397. So it's closed that gap up even more. Jonathan Riley will be in the fight a little bit there as well. Jardier will add 100, so he'll be 302 points. So still roughly within it, but I think the main bit here will be the gap has closed between Valentin Barrier and Luke Whitehead, and that's the most interesting thing we've got going into the final 2 rounds. It's getting closer. That's what we want.
Yeah, all getting very, very sharp at the pointy end, isn't it? And one thing we do, Jardy, I just noticed in the interview box, ready to jump in, we will need to make sure we ask him if he's missing any more rounds. That will be the killer for Jardier's season. If he misses any more rounds, that's going to put him out of contention.
Yeah, let's drag him up. I'll pop him in. Jardier, fantastic race. So much so that we actually missed you coming across the line. I think you must have ticked down the timer as you came across. I thought we was going to go for one more, but we were unfortunately mistaken. But I mean, it was almost a bit of a whitewash there from you. You commanded the victory from the get-go.
Yeah. That was really difficult race. Like really, really hard. But luckily everything went my way. Like I think I was like the most consistent from the top 4, and I think that really paid off. And avoided all the mistakes and everything. I did like one mistake where I literally almost binned it, and otherwise it was good. So yeah, I'm a little sweaty, but very happy as well.
We did pick up on the little incident because you went from about 3 seconds to about 1.2, and managed to then pace yourself, get back on it. We missed the actual incident itself, but we noticed the gap change. But yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a Jardier race if there wasn't a little whoopsie.
Yeah. I mean, like literally, like one little mistake I did, like the first corner, down the hill, and I just went sideways on the curb, and oh boy, that was a big drift. But yeah, fantastic. Otherwise, really good. I was really happy, but I think I made a little mistake with the setup before the race. I kind of after quali went a little bit safer for the race. Because I was like, yeah, maybe the tire wear will pay away or something, and I went a little bit safer. And then after like 15 laps, I was really struggling to turn the car on the entry, which resulted that Valle caught up a bit, and the guys were like going forward and back. But I think what really was good for me today was the consistency. I'm like very, very happy with that. That was like probably what gave me the win, especially also the quali. That was crazy.
Quali was good. We didn't stop talking, did we, Tim? It was like verbal diarrhea through quali. We didn't know where to look at one point. It was amazing. But I mean, yeah, fantastic job. Consistency was on point. At one point, like you say, Valid looked like he was coming back, but he got caught up with a little bit of mischief behind you. He pitted a little bit later, and I think it hurt him. Otherwise, it could have possibly been a little bit of a threat in that second stint, but he got a bit unlucky. But still, came away with the second place. But you obviously maximum points. We need to ask. Tim did say, you missing any more races this season?
I might miss one more. I really hope not, but I might miss one race. But I really try my best not to, because it's like one of my best seasons AOR in terms of like getting used to the car really quickly, and like there's like obviously the car is fast. Like I really can't deny that, right? The McLaren is really, really fast, but compared to my teammates and such, I'm doing such a happy job that I'm really sad every time I'm missing the race.
I mean, I don't want it to be another fourth for Jardier. I don't want to. We need to get you up there, but you're not helping yourself by missing stints. I mean, hey, look, it was fantastic. It's good to see, the consistency coming out and you getting up more and more into the comms box and having chats with us. It's always a pleasure. I'll let you get back to your boys. Don't want to keep them waiting for too long. Thanks for joining us. Congrats on the 100 points, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you again before the season ends.
Hey, thank you very much, guys. See you hopefully next time again.
See you soon, buddy.
See you next time.
There we go. Well, we'll grab Jonathan Riley up for a little chat. We don't normally get to speak to Valentin Barrier. I know it might be the language barrier, puns not intended, but he doesn't always come into the chats. But he might do at the end. You never know. He's fighting for the championship. We might get champagne with the young Frenchman before the season's out. But we do have Jonathan Riley in for the chat. Take it away, Tim.
Good evening, Jonathan. Can you hear us?
Yeah, all good.
Fantastic race from you this evening. Obviously, qualifying. You qualified in third place. Oh, no, you qualified in fourth place, sorry, and got yourself up onto the podium.
It's got all the stats at hand.
Yeah, trying to flick through them. Hundreds of stats, all the numbers. How important was qualifying well here in this wet race?
Very. Two things. One is Brands Hatch, and two, it's wet. So you're not going to have many overtaking opportunities unless the guy in the front makes a mistake. AOR was pretty clean where I was in this race. So thank God that I qualified decent so that it gave me a proper position for the race. Yeah, the wet conditions around this track also just really, really hard to deal with, because you can't go on the curbs at all. Although I saw some cars using the curbs, so I think there was like 2 lines you could probably use throughout the race. But yeah, curbs for me you couldn't use, so the lines were really difficult to sort of get right each lap. So it was a very difficult track, and so yeah, thankfully in the race nothing really happened to me.
Yeah, it did appear to be a really clean race, kept your nose clean the whole way through. So this is your 3rd podium in a row. Is this something you're hoping to continue on at Snetterton? How confident are you feeling about the sort of England's flattest circuit?
Yeah, I actually hate Snetterton. Snetterton's terrible. I hate it. But hopefully it's not raining, because from what I've seen today, the Ferrari isn't up there in terms of pace. I mean, the McLarens were absolutely insane. Like Jardier and Valentin were absolutely insane on race pace as well. So hopefully it doesn't rain for Snetterton, because, other than that, we maybe have a chance. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, I mean, the Ferrari's been consistent so far. So hopefully I'll be able to continue it for, I think, Snetterton and hopefully Imola as well.
Fantastic. So lots of confidence going forward into the season. That is what we like to see. I say currently running in 3rd place in the championship. I'm not sure what's going to happen points wise once they go in. Did you end up doing the maths on that one, Rage, or not for Riley?
Riley will be in the 70s. He was 70. He's 3rd place. 79 points, I think he'll get for this time. So that would put him 79. You'll be in the low 200. You'll be close with Jardier, but probably stay where you are, I think. But Jardier will be knocking on the door, considering his win. So yeah, I mean, there's still everything to play for. I mean, at one point you almost thought that you were going to challenge for 2nd place, I think, really, today, didn't you?
Yeah. I like. If I were to challenge anyone at the end of the stint, it would have been incredibly hard, because the Ferrari's rear tyres died, I think, halfway through its stints. I was suffering already during the first stint when I was behind Dimitrov in the first stint. With the wet spray coming up as well, I didn't really want to follow him, so I hang back just to sort of gauge my pace and just see what I wanted to do for the pit stop. And the rears just kept dying, and at the end it was horrible. So if I were to have challenged Valentin at the end, it would have probably have to have been a very big pace deficit, especially with Valentin's side. Like, he probably needed to have gotten like a couple seconds of damage, and have my tires in a sort of good state, and then maybe I could have challenged him. But yeah, unfortunately, there was no way I would have been able to challenge him.
But considering it was still a good finish. Yeah, I mean you have won the most races this season out of any driver. So I know you say Snetterton's not one for you. Imola, what chances? What do you reckon?
Oh, I don't know for Imola. Hopefully the Ferrari is good on the curbs. If that's the case, then yeah, maybe we have a good chance. I'm not sure if Imola's wet, dry, or mixed, or whatever, or if it has a chance.
No
idea. Okay,
I don't look into that much too. Whatever it is on the day, I'll be interested in.
Yeah.
I mean the chance of getting under Luke Whitehead's skin with 2 to go now. I mean, have you somewhat said, I don't think I'm going to be able to take it to the young Brit now for the championship? Or you never know. He's only got to have a few disasters, but I mean, it's hard for someone like him to have that. I think it might be slightly impossible now. You got to join us a little earlier and really put the pressure on. You threw away a considerable amount of points with missing Spain. Valencia, sorry. Same thing.
Yeah, I did. It's unfortunate. I did a bit of maths beforehand. If I was to have challenged Luke, for that spot, just matched him, he would have had to finish, I think, like P5 or whatever, basically roughly where he's finished today, and I would have to have won every single race, leading these races. I just think that's a really big task, especially when I think also he had a bit of contact in the first stint, and I got a bit excited. Yeah, I got a bit excited because I saw his car drop out of my Delta, so. I was getting really excited, and then after the pit stop, he must have done a brilliant undercut because he was like 2 seconds back after my pit stop. So I think he did a really really good strategy. Exactly.
You
Yeah.
can only do it in the wet, and he did it. Yeah, fantastically well. There are others that did it as well with him, but no one made it work as well as Luke, I think, really, but struggled at the end. But the Audi's so hard to pass, and it's so hard to pass around here anyway, let alone with an Audi, in front. So he managed to hold on. I think anyone else really probably would have struggled. A Ferrari's not, I don't think it's wide enough really to hold cars back. I think someone might have got up the side of him into turn one, but because of that Audi is able to command so much racetrack. It's quite funny. Anyway, we won't hold you up any longer, Jonathan. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing how Snetterton goes. You never know, it's still up for debate. You might be able to help Valley get his maiden win in AOR if you want to try and put the threats on Luke Whitehead, considering your run of wins. You never know.
Cheers, guys.
You never know. Thanks for joining us, buddy. We'll see you next time. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
See you next time.
That was John joining us in the comms box for the final place. I don't think we'll speak to Valentin Barrier. I think we'll have to wait for the final round if he congratulates Luke Whitehead or Luke Whitehead congratulates him. You never know. You never know. Well, where can we join you tomorrow, Tim?
Same time, same place. It's going to be another equally wet race, I think, here with 97% chance of rain and only 2% changing conditions. I think it's very much going to be a wet Tier 2 race here. Well, my brain just broke for Apex Online Racing. I say, yeah, exactly the same time, same place. So do tune in. Lots of rising stars coming up through the ranks. So equally fast racing, just with some slightly different names on the circuit. Some names you may have seen before, some names you may never have seen before.
But it's incredibly close, isn't it, though? That's the main thing. Your two titled contenders are right next to each other, trading top positions. Both of them have missed a race as well. Oh my god! Oh geez.
I know it's been ridiculous. Yeah, so our leading driver with 257 points and our second place driver with a 251. Yeah, there really is nothing between them. Both of them have been on the podium nearly every single time they've raced. And our third driver at the moment is Jimmy Holm in the Holming Missile. Strangely, he's in third place, but he's had a really mixed season. So yeah, it's really heating up towards the second half of this season. So do join us tomorrow. Thanks for the shout out on that one, Rage. Yeah, if you can't get enough of ACC and you can't get enough of Apex Online Racing, Tuesday 7:30 here is the place to be.
Perfect. Well, we will see everyone in a week's time for Snetterton, like you say, the flattest place on the UK to drive a race car. We will be there at 7:30. Join us for the build-up at around about 15:15, and we'll go through what happened, where the points are, and what we're talking about for the remaining two races. Penultimate race then is next week, and then we're at Imola for the final race. Can Valentin Barrier put the pressure on Luke Whitehead? You have to join us to find out. We'll see you soon.
See ya.